Prime Minister Modi is all set to take oath as the Prime Minister for the country for the third consecutive time. And for the same, India has even invited several leaders from neighboring countries to attend the swearing-in ceremony before the Prime Minister comes and takes office for the third time. It is important to know what all he has already achieved in the 2 terms he was the Prime Minister. Well, in these terms, the Prime Minister has made a lot of strides when it comes to matters like Kashmir or even the widespread adoption of UPI technology. Now, beyond that, what can one expect from the third term of the Prime Minister? We're going to have a look at that, and we'll also be talking to some of our guests. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is with us on the show. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, also joins us on the show. Advocate Chandni Preeti Shah, political analyst, also joins us on the program. Last but by no means the least, Dr. Satish Prasad Rath, perception analyst, and a doctor also joins us on the show. Before, in fact, we get into this conversation, I'm going to go to the big screen and actually show you what are some of these big ticket achievements or plans or the trajectory that the Prime Minister, in fact, has hinted towards. Of course, big ticket number 1 is the Uniform Civil Code. It's the legal framework for which is likely to replace the current situation or the current representation that we have. It is obviously likely to replace the personal laws which are specific to various religions as well. Now, this is something which the Prime Minister at the central level, several of his chief ministers at the state level have obviously concurred to as well. The 5 trillion economy which India aims to achieve by 2025 is also going to be the big ticket item that everybody, including the world at large, will be looking out for. One nation, one election. Obviously, this is something which is good for the nation. It's going to save a lot of costs. It's going to be a synchronicity of elections for the state and all the state assemblies, something that we also got to see in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh during these elections as well. Wouldn't it be great if all the states conform to that kind of a modus operandi? Made in India, semiconductor chips, something that runs the world. Everything today that in fact we own and operate is through semiconductor chips. The monopoly of China and Taiwan is something that India is looking to break, and India's first semiconductor lab is going to begin production in the year 2026, and of course this will be under the able guidance of the Prime Minister in his third term. Rupees 50,000 crore defense exports target is set by 28-29. India, that traditionally used to be an importer of defense technologies, is going to be doing the opposite. Military theater commands. Now, this is something for plans for which were laid down in the early 2000s by the Vajpayee government, but it never happened. Now, this integration is going to happen in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and for joint operations in specific adversary-based theaters as well. We have to realize that India is surrounded with adversaries. The Gaganyaan launch, of course, the first uncrewed test flight of the Gaganyaan program with a launch which is planned in July of 2024, which is next month, is also going to be taking place under the able guidance of the Prime Minister. And 1300 Amrit Bharat revamped railway station. This is something that we've also taken up on NewsX in the past, and how some of these stations are likely to be models of what our airports or airports in foreign countries look like. And this is also something which will require a continuity of sorts. It will require the operations to sustain at the level, the pace, and of course the aggression that we have seen from the Prime Minister and his party for the last 10 years. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you. Sir, of the list of items of the dossier we have just presented, which according to you is going to likely to happen at the slated projection time that we have envisaged, and the 5 trillion economy mark? How important is that for India to get to? Because that also puts us in the big 3, sir.
It's very important, Vineet, because we have a very young population, and this young population needs jobs, good, productive, well-paying jobs. And for that, they need an education such that it will equip them to tackle these jobs. Secondly, there's scope for a huge amount of export of our talent in countries like Japan, parts of Europe, which frankly are aging and are desperately in need of trained individuals to replace those who are retiring. So there is a huge demand. There's going to be a huge demand for trained Indian manpower. And I stress the word trained because it's very important to ensure that education systems be reconfigured to ensure that the training is not for the 20th century, but for the 21st, as Prime Minister Modi said. And that is, I think, going to be a priority. You talked about defense exports. I think we only touched the tip of the iceberg where the potential is concerned. And quite frankly, this is a neglected field for a very long time. Prime Minister Modi has energized it. And I do believe we're going to hear a lot about this in the future and a lot more markets. As far as the digital economy is concerned, yes, digitalization has come practically to hundreds of millions of people. You have several 100 million people now who regularly access the internet in India. I think more than any other population in the world, possibly, comparable to China, let's say. But so these things are changes that are happening. The country is being transformed, and you're talking about railway station. The point is, Prime Minister Modi is proud of India. He wants every citizen of India to be proud of India. And therefore, he wants everybody to join together in creating an India that we can all be proud of. Because the point is, Vineet, there are people who have been, even including top leaders, who for a long time have disparaged India or really looked down upon India and specifically the Indian people. And that doesn't give them much of a target to aim for. Modi is aiming high, and he's very confident the Indian people are going to reach the higher targets that he's setting.
Sumit Peer, how do you look at the list that I have just presented to you as well as our viewers? Sort of all these items, each one of them is very close to this government's heart, and each one of them is also ambitious in nature. But a couple of them, which will improve India's stature as a global power, and a couple of them will also make sure that money is saved within the country as well when you have one nation, one election concept being implemented in the country. But the fact of the matter is that you have spoken about it many times yourself, Sumit, that when it comes to foreign reserve ratios, when it comes to our import-export, and when it comes to the PPP as well as the per capita income, this is the best time for India. In lieu of all these developments that the BJP government, or rather the NDA government now, is likely to continue, which one do you think stands out the most in terms of achievability?
Vinny, thank you for having me on your show. If you look at what are the priorities of the country, look, we have hostile neighbors and there are a lot of geopolitical changes happening. Atmanirbhar Bharat is the name of the game. You have to increase your economy to have a very strong military, to increase the per capita income, to increase the infrastructure of the country, and have a lot of money for the defense budgets. I think our defense budget over the years has to substantially go because the hostilities are very much increasing. We must have an equally bigger budget for internal security. I would even advocate there should be a separate ministry for internal security only, maybe under Home Ministry. That's a possibility, but they should have. So we need economy. 5 trillion was and will be our utmost priority. Semiconductors was and will be our utmost priority, because today you cannot think of growth. And if you want to square off your trade deficit with the China, the only thing which you have to concentrate on is on the semiconductors. Then, infrastructure development has to happen. Ease of living has to happen. We are doing fantastically well on digital payments, because out of every 5 are digital payments in India today, which is the highest in the world. There, all kudos to Prime Minister Modi and the UPI, what he has got. It's the most brilliant achievement which any leader could get in a span of 6-7 years. Nobody except Modi ji could have done this on whole planet Earth. That goes for sure. Semiconductors remain, defense is very, very important, Vineet, because I believe in coming 10 years, we will be 10 trillion economy also. Wo tension nahi hai. But our defense has to increase many folds vis-a-vis reserves, vis-a-vis arms. And if you want to be a geopolitical power, you have to manufacture arms, and you have to be able to give arms to those where it matters. You have, like we're giving BrahMos to Philippines, we are giving things to Vietnam, we are giving things to Armenia. Likewise, this gambit has to increase, and our dependence on any imported arsenal has to almost come to zero. Yeah, maybe something where it is not, economically viable to manufacture. All that has to come to zero. India has to be seen as an exporter of technology and also defense technology. So these are the things we need, which are, on the top of my mind, because to have a strong country, a strong economy is very important. And with it, we also need a very robust foreign policy, which is already there, because you see a lot of people in Pakistan, in China, and some even the cabal based out of US did their best to make sure Prime Minister Modi doesn't come back to power. But to all their dislikes and all their heartburns, he's back to power and he's going to be there for 5 years. So, there, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time now. We have a window of 5 years. And in this 5 years, if we are able to touch somewhere around 10 trillion, somewhere touching there, we are able to be 100% independent on defense. We are able to increase our foreign exchange reserves. We are able to get as much Atmanirbhar as we can. And we are going to control a lot of IP. Today we are filing the highest number of patents in the world. But ultimately, where is the key? When you talk about the technology, the key is neither AI, neither big data, neither robotics. The key is how much of intellectual property right you have. Today, what is driving Israel as a very small country? It's the amount of IP they are controlling in the world. So we are filing the maximum number of patents. The IP has to be in control. We have to increase our universities, though we have ended 390 universities in the Modi's tenure, but they have to go up. So there's the economy and technology and defense. That is where I bet my money on. These are the three things. A railway station can come a little bit later. I'm not saying it's not important, but the priority has to be these three things, because if we get these three things right, nobody can challenge us. And I strongly advocate a ministry for internal security, which is over and above home ministry, part of home ministry, parallel to home ministry, I don't know, but you need a ministry of internal security, because that is another concern. We have seen some, turbulence in the past elections. We have seen the foreign interference in the past elections. We have seen how international agencies and companies have been roped in by the people with vested interests to destabilize our election. We have seen how international media was trying its best to poke nose and swing the perceptions. So we have let it happen once, because now we need very strong laws so we can even curtail them. Because being a nuclear triad, what Modi ji gifted us, I'm not worried about China or Pakistan coming in. I am worried about 0.5, that is the people within the system who are trying to bake the system, living within the system. That is a serious thing which we have to tackle. I am very confident under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Take my word, Vineet, this time Modi 3.0 is going to be 10 times aggressive than Modi 2.0. Because Modi ji, what I am hearing his bhashans and why hearing his speech, he is going all out for it. He is not going to leave any stone turned. These 5 years will build legacy of BJP, will build legacy of Prime Minister Modi, and build the stature of India, what people could have not even imagined. Where, like yesterday he said, कि ये चुनावी वादा नहीं है, जो आपने पहले देखा वो ट्रेलर था. I completely endorse each and every word, because I am seeing that change in the body language, and that seeing the change in the the way Prime Minister Modi is addressing things, and the message is very clear to the people out of India and within India. In India, out of India, it will be Modi ji's way of functioning. You have to all adapt to his way of functioning, because the tallest mandate, the biggest mandate, and the biggest leader of the country was and will be Narendra Modi ji. Usme doubt nahi hai. You can have 10, 12 seats here and there, but if you think you can twist Modi ji, you can turn his hands around and you can make him sign things. No, he's not Manmohan Singh. There's nothing called coalition dharma. There is nothing called alliance dharma. It is Modi ji's way, and it is the India way what will matter. The message what Modi ji gave yesterday was very loud and clear. I think everybody should get this message loud and clear, including our adversaries. But for them, the bad news and the best news for us is Modi is back. Modi 3.0 is happening. India Alliance can go and fly kite. And we need, after 15 days, there will be no India Alliance. So we will live in peace. We'll focus on developmental issues. We'll focus on the bigger issues rather than getting into the Rose Ka Natak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dr. Rath, let's also talk about agendas and achievements like the PM Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. 90 crore people were facilitated. The Jal Jeevan Mission, which saw about 8 crore people receiving tap water connections. The PM Awas Yojana, which has been very, very exceptionally successful, also had about 4 crore urban and rural houses that were sanctioned. The Swachh Bharat Yojana, which also is a purview of how many toilets have been built, and they're approximately 14 crores. But the fact of the matter is that a number of people were surprised when they saw Odisha, you belong to Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh going for polls at the same time with the Lok Sabha elections as well. And that there was also a lot of beauty and prudence and wisdom to be arrived out of that, because, at the end of the day, Dr. Rath, it's going to save the pockets of the exchequer as well. Where do you stand on what has transpired in the last few days, vis-a-vis, in juxtaposition to what the Prime Minister wants to do in the next 5 years?
Thanks, Vineet, for having me in this beautiful discussion. So I completely agree with you that, also with my previous panelist, is Modi has been a reformer, and he has shown it in Modi 1.0 and 2.0. And 3.0 is going to be no different, but maybe the let's say, peripheries are going to be maneuvered in a different way because, now this is a coalition. So I will, put it in a very simple way that, whatever work has been, beautiful work has been done by the previous governments there has been a lot of focus on strategic infra, be it airports or roads or let's say railways to, let's say also the digital highway, 5G also is there. And then there is talks also for semiconductor, let's say manufacturing. I would expect this sector to be given much more focus because, there is a lot of potential. And especially with the kind of, let's say, advances AI is having, my strong, recommendation is to have an AI ministry. Ministry of Technology is no more, sufficient to control in the old way, the way, fast semiconductor and AI growth is happening. And India has got a lot to gain from that because, we have a very good trained manpower. We have very good connected ecosystem across the world, from Intel to NVIDIA to Qualcomm to Microsoft to Google to, Apple, you name it. And then we have strategic people actually in place. So this can be identified as a strategic sector. And then, I think definitely, Modi would be, considering that. And somewhere I also feel that, why he would be focusing this much more in 3.0 because, he has done the groundwork. And this is also apolitical. So no party can actually complain that, why are you investing into a semiconductor chip or a AI infrastructure or a training, manpower, as Professor Nalapat also said. The second strategic bet, I would say, the beautiful work which has happened in the socio-economic infra, basically UPI, DBT and other things. I would expect them to move to the next stage now. So let's say mostly into education and healthcare, as you were talking about. So this is going to improve ease of living. And this has been one of the key, let's say, deliveries of the Modi 2.0, that, building the houses, the toilets, the, ease of living. And somewhere, wherever, the pockets, they have not got the seats, I would say that part, they would be taking it positively and trying to make the ease of living in the rural India much more strategic, powered by technology so that, this reform is also seen as the 3.0 of UPI or 3.0 of DBT. So this would be the second part. I would expect maybe the socio-cultural, let's say, infra, like Uniform Civil Code and the other things will be taking a little bit of a slow pace because, they would be, mostly focusing on the first year to, develop the tech infra and the socio, let's say, economic infra so that, they are getting that again, popularity back and then, they are going for the socio-cultural infra. But last but not the least, having Chandrababu Naidu actually into the coalition government now can be actually leveraged because he is a man, of course, out of the success of Hyderabad. And then, India has got, 120 to 140 cities, who can be the Hyderabad of the future or the Bangalore of the future. So this part also can be thought of, in a very, strategic way, maybe urban city planning. We actually plan for smart cities, but maybe tangible outcomes have not come there. So this is also a smart city ministry is a very good part, where all the, let's say, infra which are connected and cities have become a state by itself, becoming the, big, let's say, economic hub as well as cultural hub. So maybe, I think, somebody can, provide a suggestion that, you can leverage Chandrababu Naidu's experience and then also, keep him at that, high post to say that part is okay, let's build this 120 next Bangalore or Hyderabad, which would be also, very, very, positive in the next. And last but not the least, I would definitely recommend for a, AI ministry, the minimum to start with. This ministry can actually govern the higher studies that, how our universities can have a dedicated AI department. And what Professor Nalapa says is actually goes very, very long term because, if we prepare this next trained AI individuals, India's workforce would be actually controlling the entire world's workforce in the AI sector. And this has got, huge upside. And India is very nicely poised based on demography as well as based on its, university ecosystem, to be, really contributing to world's AI growth. So this is something, these are the things, I would be definitely looking for. And I won't be minding much. I think, all these, let's say, apprehensions that, because now this is a coalition government, so maybe the reforms are going to be slower. I think, our Prime Minister is a very smart person and is a very good navigator. He has handled much more complex systems actually globally. So I think, he would be very much into his speed with much more vigor as well as, much more control.
Great points there, great points there. And Chandni, obviously the Prime Minister, there's nothing that's diminished his stature. There is nothing that's also diminished the cult that he's been able to grow for himself. If you have allies such as Chandrababu Naidu and even Nitish Kumar, two people who are very passionate about development, who are very passionate about their state, this only in fact foments more confidence into the people who have wanted to see the Prime Minister at the helm, because your allies are also someone who have the same vision.
Yes, Vineet, I completely agree. And we are, like 5 days into the Modi 3.0, the election results had come on 4th of June. And, in the past 2-3 days, the way that the statements are being made by Chandrababu Naidu or even Nitish Kumar for that reason, it is giving a heartburn to the Congress and the alliance, I feel, because the speculations that were being made that they have been asking for ministries and they would leave the NDA government, and the NDA government is unstable because they have got partners and allies like Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar, especially these two. People were casting aspersions on these two political leaders, especially, and they have set it aside by praising not just the Narendra Modi's leadership, but also by giving that that assurance that they are not going anywhere and they are with the vision of Narendra Modi. Like, when we see that, when we hear the speeches of Narendra Modi, he does not talk about the next 5 years or next 10 years. All the achievements and what he's going to do next has been penned down by our panelists over here very well. But when you hear to him, he talks about 2047, 2049, 2035, what he sees and how he sees India then. And that is what makes him very different from the prime ministers that we've gotten all these years, also very different from the global leadership that we see today. Today we talk about as prime minister's achievement that he has gotten by giving India water facilities and bringing out people out of poverty, giving unna to 90% people. I would actually say this was the failure of the previous government. Here, like, Narendra Modi has just facilitated these basic amenities that the people actually require to live a normal life, right? To actually dwell in their daily lives. And this should have been done way back, way before 2014. We had, it was not like we did not have the kind of infrastructure or we did not have the kind of funds. But it was said that जब 1 रुपया भेजते थे तो 15 पैसे पहुंचता था. उस type के transaction में, it was impossible that these basic facilities were also being provided to the common people of India. Today it is being said with pride, and I'm proud of this, that the Prime Minister that we got in 2014 not only promised to deliver these basic amenities, but actually achieved in delivering them. Apart from that, we have had our we transformed India into a digital India, wherein it was being said, thele wala, how are they going to understand that what is UPI and what is going? Today you go today even a ready wala, you buy these nuts from them and they'll be like, we have Paytm, please do Paytm to us. Today India has accumulates around 46% of global digital transaction, and this is like a big achievement in the fintech and digital sphere for us. The DBT system, it eliminated around so much of corruption. It saved around $33 billion, and this system has also lifted around 250 million people out of poverty. This is a big thing. Yes, there is national integration. We abrogated Article 370. There's a cultural integration. We built Ram Mandir. We also built, a mosque. Besides that, which shows that how inclusive the Prime Minister is. But apart from that, the global recognition that we've received. Today India is being asked. India's opinions are mattering. That is not because we have not done anything, and from the last 10 years we have not achieved anything.
Absolutely.
It is because Narendra Modi is, he has been, amongst the 100 most influential people. He's the most celebrated global leaders today. So what I see is that, he has achieved a lot in the last 10 years, but the next 5 years that, the layout.
So basically it's going to be a consolidation of whatever has happened in the last 10 years. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah, all right.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.